My dear students and viewers, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my online class once again. I am Murshida Imam, Assistant Professor, Dept. of English, Govt. Suhrawardy College, Dhaka. Today I am going to continue the class for the students of Honours Second Year, Dept. of English, on the topic The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by S.T. Coldis from the course Romantic Poetry. My dear students, you know I have already taken 2 classes on this topic. And in our previous class, we completed part 1 of the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And today we will read part 2 of the poem. Please get ready with your text, marker, sheet and pen. Are you ready? Dear students, are you ready? Yes. Then let's start reading part 2 of the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And before starting the text, I want to remind you that in part 1, when we ended part 1, we see that the ancient mariner did a hellish thing. That is, he committed a crime by killing the innocent albatross, the innocent bird albatross. Okay, and he confessed it to the wedding guest, saying, with my crossbow I shot the albatross. And that was the ending point of the of part 1 of the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And from part 2 we will see that the ancient mariner is continuing his story, saying, the sun now rose upon the right, out of the sea came he, still hid in mist, and on the left went down into the sea. Okay, then in this stanza, in the very first stanza of the poem, we see that the ancient mariner is continuing his story, saying that the sun has appeared although there is still a thick layer of mist in the air, and the sun now rose upon the right. That means from this and went down into the sea on the left. So we see that we know the sun always rises in the east and it sets in the west. So through this stanza we can easily guess that now the ship is sailing on the north direction. Okay, north direction. And here we also see that the sun is personified here once again. Okay, then go to the second stanza. And the good south wind still blew behind, but no sweet bird did follow, nor any day for food or play came to the mariner's hollow. So in this stanza we see that the good favorable south wind was still blowing, but what happened? There was no sweet bird. Sweet bird means, yes, albatross, the innocent albatross, innocent bird of good omen. It did not follow their ship now. Many of the sailors were calling it by force of habit. Okay, though they knew that it had been killed. Then go to third stanza. And I had done a hellish thing, and it would work him for all averred. I had killed the bird that made the breeze to blow. Ah, race, said they, the bird to slay that made the breeze to blow. And my dear students, the first stanza, you see, every stanza consists of 4 lines. Okay, and every 2 line rhymes with the 4th line. So the every 4th line stanza, that is ballad stanza, follows the rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B. Okay, every 2nd line rhymes with the 4th line, but 3rd stanza consists of how many lines, my dear students? 6 lines. Okay, and here we see the rhyme scheme is like that: A, B, C, B, D, B. Write down please: A, B, C, B, D, B. Friends, here 6 lines stanza. You see the rhyme scheme is A B C B D B. That means every second line rhymes with the fourth line, and fourth line rhymes with the sixth line. Okay. And in this stanza, we see, what do you see? Yes, we see that the ancient mariner confessed that he had done a hellish thing, that is, he did a crime by killing the innocent albatross, and it would work him. Oh, here em means them, that means the sailors, okay, the other sailors. So he confessed here that this hellish thing, that is the killing of the albatross, might bring them great sorrow or distress. For all effort, because effort means say it firmly, because all of the shipmates condemned his action of killing the albatross, which had caused the favorable south wind to blow. That is, for all effort, I had killed the bird that made the breeze to blow. Ahray, said they, the bird to slay that made the breeze to blow. That is, here we see that all the shipmates of the mariner condemned his action of killing the albatross, saying that he had killed the bird which brought the favorable favorable wind. Okay. And my dear students, in our previous class we discussed the literary devices used in the part 1 of the poem. So here today I won't give you any definition of the okay. You have to see our previous class once again to know the literary devices, the definition of the literary devices. Okay. And go to, and in this stanza you see which literary devices is used here, my dear student. Can you guess, or can you find it out? My dear students, try to do it. Yes. For all effort I had killed the bird. Here internal rhyme, we find internal rhyme. And in second stanza also internal rhyme. What is it, my dear students? Yes, nor any day for food or play. Day, play. Okay. And my dear students, you will find out all the literary devices used in part 2 by yourself. Okay, following part 1. Can you do it? No or yes? Yes, I know. If you listen to my previous class, okay, very carefully and minutely, you will be able to do it in part 2 too. Okay. Then go to next stanza. Nor dim nor red, like God's own head, the glorious sun upraised. Then all averred, I had killed the bird that brought the fog and mist. It was right, said they, such birds to slay that bring the fog and mist. My dear students, mark here. Here we find the change of attitude of the shipmates, of the mariner. Okay, nor dim nor red like God's own head. Here the sun, okay, the sun is compared with God's own head. It was nor dim nor red. That means the sun was very natural here. That is, the glorious sun upraised. That means the bright sun, glorious here, the bright sun upraised. That is, shines brightly. The glorious sun, the sun bright, shines brilliantly. And then all averred, I had killed the bird that brought the fog and mist. Here we find the radical change of the attitude of the shipmates of the mariner. That is, everything was normal. So they now, and there was the sun was shining brightly. So now at that moment they then all averred, I had killed the bird that brought the fog and mist. The sailors now declared that the mariner had done the right thing by killing the bird that brought fog and mist. So you see the radical change of the attitude of the shipmates here. it was right, said they, such birds to slay that bring the fog and mist. In the previous stanza, we see that they were they condemned the ancient mariner for killing the birds that brought them favorable south wind, and now they are saying that they declared that the mariner had done the right thing by killing the bird that brought fog and mist. So this stanza shows the two contrary views of the sailors, okay, who earlier had condemned the killing of the bird as sinful, and now they are saying that the mariner had did the right thing, okay. And in this stanza, my dear students, we find use of simile, okay, use of simile where, my dear students, the sun is compared with God's own head, like God's head, okay. Here we find the use of simile, and we also find repetition that brought the fog and fog and mist, that brought the fog and mist, and the last line of the stanza, that frog the fog and mist, okay. Then that is fourth line of the stanza, and the sixth line of the same line, okay. So here we find repetition. Then go to next stanza. The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. Okay, my dear student, please mark those lines. These lines are very, very important for explanation too. The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. Okay, here what do you find, my dear students? Yes, here we see that the fair breeze blew. That means the favorable south wind was still blowing, and the white foam, that means the foam means here refers to the bubbles formed on a liquid, that is the bubble of on the ocean, okay. And the furrow followed free. Furrow means that here the ship was going to the north direction, you see, and when the ship was sailing, there behind the ship there was a furrow, that means a track, okay, track of line, that means dividing the water two-sided, and there was a line or track, okay. And we were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. In this line we see that the ship sailed on smoothly, and they are going to reach to a silent sea, okay, silent sea. And in this stanza we find the literary devices used here, that is alliteration, okay, alliteration. The first line of the stanza, the fair breeze blew, the white foam flew. Here B sound of B and F, okay, breeze blew, foam flew. Here we find alliteration, B and F sound. And here we also find the internal rhyme too, the fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, blew, flew. And my dear students, the ship then is going to was going to reach a silent sea. Then in this stanza we see that the ship, everything was okay, but now they are going to face a very critical moment. Down dropped the breeze, the sails dropped down. It was sad as sad could be, and we did speak only to break the silence of the sea. Students, so in this stanza we see the ancient mariner and his fellow sailors are about to be punished for the sin. That is, down dropped the breeze, the sails dropped down. That is, the wind suddenly dropped. And what happened to the sails? Automatically the sails also dropped down, and it was sad as sad could be. That is, the situation became very, very sad. They are facing very sad situation, and we did speak only to break the silence of the sea. That means there was no living being to speak. Only the mariner and their shipmates are there, and they they spoke only to break the silence of the sea. The silence of the sea. Here we find a beautiful image of a silent sea, that is it creates an audio-visual imagery. Okay. My dear students, then go to next stanza, and this stanza is very important for your explanation. Mark those lines. Down drop the breeze to the silence of the sea. This stanza. Okay. Then go to next stanza. All in a white and copper sky, the bloody sun at noon, right up above the mast did stand, no bigger than the moon. This line is also important for explanation. Mark those lines too. Here we see the sky looked like heated copper. Okay, and here is used a metaphor. Okay, that is, the sky is compared as looked like heated copper. Okay, all in a white and copper sky, the bloody sun at noon. Bloody sun, here is also a metaphor, that is, the sun seems to be bloody. Okay, and right up above the mast did stand, no bigger than the moon. Here we see that all the natural forces, okay, sea, then sun, wind, every natural force, we see all natural forces started taking revenge upon the sailor mariner and his shipmates. Okay, and as the sun shining very brightly and right up above the mast did stand. The position of the sun here we see right up above the mast, so we can easily guess that they reached the equatorial region. Okay, the ship reached equatorial region as the sun shining vertically. Okay, and then next para, that is next stanza, is very important for explanation, and you have to quote these lines in your broad questions too. Okay, so mark those lines. Day after day we stuck, nor breathe nor motion, as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. Okay, my dear students, this stanza is very important. And here we see the ship remained stuck at one place. Okay, as there was no wind and there was no movement. Okay, the sails dropped down. So what happened to the ship? Yes, the ship remained stuck at one place in the middle of the sea. Okay, and it did not move, neither wind nor tide. There was neither wind nor tide. So what happened to the ship? The ship remained stuck at one place, and it did not move, and it stood still in the middle of the silent sea. And this ship and the condition of the ship, that is, the ship is compared with what? With a painted ship. Here we see a simile, use of simile. Okay, as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. Okay, the everything stood still, so the ship now looked like a painted ship, and the ocean a painted ocean. So the ship is compared with a painted ship upon a painted ocean. Then next stanza. Water everywhere, and all the boats did shrink. Water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. Here, my dear students, we see an irony here. Okay, though the ship was surrounded by water. Okay, the ship is surrounded by water. The very border of the ship began to crack and shrink because of the excessive heat, as the sun was bloody sun. The sun became bloody sun, and it became heated copper sky. Okay, in a hot copper sky. The bloody sun was in a hot and copper sky, we see. So there was very hot weather. Okay, so for excessive heat, what happened to the ship? Okay, though there was water, though the ship was surrounded by water, the very border of the ship began to crack and shrink because of the excessive heat, and water everywhere, not any drop to drink. And and what happened to the sailors? They were in the midst of water. Okay, but there wasn't even a drop they could drink. there was not even a drop of water to drink, because their supply of fresh water was exhausted, and the sheep, the sea water is very salty, so they didn't drink it. So it's an irony, though there was water everywhere, but the boards of the sheep was shrinking, the board of the sheep was shrinking, and they didn't get a drop of water, a single drop of water to drink. My dear students, in this stanza we also find alliteration and repetition. Okay, water everywhere, repetition, water everywhere. Okay, and the alliteration, water everywhere, W sound. Okay, sound of W, water, wa. Okay, so we find alliteration and repetition here, and we also find irony in this stanza, and this stanza is very, very important for quotation and also for explanation. Mark it, please. Then go to next stanza. The very deep did rot, O Christ, that ever this should be. Yes, slimy things did crawl with legs upon the slimy sea. Okay, here the very deep is a metaphor here. Okay, what do you mean by very deep? Yes, the very deep here refers to the sea. Okay, the sea did rot, that means decay. Rot means having gone bad. Okay, as there was no movement of the water, and so the deep sea, that means the sea, became rot, that means having gone bad. And the mariner is saying, O Christ, that ever this should be. Yes, slimy things did crawl with legs upon the slimy sea. Slimy means very sticky, slimy sea, that is sticky water, sticky sea, and slimy things, that is the repulsive sea creatures, were crawling with their ugly legs on the sticky and slimy glue-like water of the sea. And here we see that the ancient mariner is calling, O Christ, symbol of soul. Okay, O Christ. Then here we find that the sea itself began to rot due to no movement in the wind or water. Okay, then go to next stanza. About in reel and rout, the death fires danced at night. The water, like a witch's oils, burned green and blue and white. Okay, this stanza is very, very important for explanation too. Mark those lines, please. About in reel and rout. Okay, in this stanza, what do you see? Here we see that the water seems to be burning with crackling sparkles of many colors, like the oils burned by the witches. Okay, and we find in this reference that in Macbeth, okay, Shakespeare's Macbeth, we see the three witches burnt oils. Okay, and in this stanza we find a horrible image. Okay, a horrible image, and we also find use of simile. Okay, the water is compared with the witch's oils, which was burning green and blue and white. Okay, that is in this stanza. And what do you mean by reel and rout? Yes, it's a type of dance movement. Okay, reel and rout. Then the movement of the death fires as they fly, okay, is compared with reel and rout. That is about in reel and rout, the death fires danced at night. That is the ancient mariner and his shipmates. What did they see? Yes, at night they saw the death fires were dancing. Okay, in reel and rout, and the water of the sea water is compared with the witch's oils that was burning green, blue and white. Okay, and this stanza, okay, we mentioned earlier, that is we see the use of simile, and it's a horrible image. Okay, and here we get the reference of the three witches of Macbeth too. Okay, and this stanza also gives us an idea about that we are going to enter a supernatural world. Okay, witches are the elements of are supernatural elements, you know. Okay, then go to next stanza. And some in dreams assured were of the speed that plagued us so. 9 fathom deep he had followed us from the land of mist and snow. Okay, my dear students, in this stanza we see that some of the sailors of the ship had dreamed that a speed was avenging the death of the albatross, and had been following their ship from the land of mist and snow, where the albatross was killed by the ancient mariner. Okay, and the polar speed, that is, you may call the speed as polar speed. The polar speed was following the sailors from where? From 9 fathom deep. Okay, 9 fathom. What do you mean by fathom? Yes, 1 fathom means 6 feet or 1.8 meters. Okay, and fathom is a measure of the depth of water. Okay, we use this measure to measure the depth of water, that is 9 fathom. Then what do you mean by 9 fathom? 1 fathom equal to 6 feet, then 9 fathom equal to 9 to 6, that means 54 feet. Okay, and from the land of mist and snow means the land of ice, the land of mist of snow, where the albatross, the innocent bird albatross, was killed by the ancient mariner. Okay, then go to next stanza. And every tongue through utter draught was withered at the root. We could not speak, no more than if we had been choked with soot. Then in this stanza we find the condition of the ancient mariner and his shipmates. What was happening to them? That is, the sailors' tongues dried up at the very root. Okay, it's a use of metaphor here. We see that is, the sailors' tongues were compared to with what? That is, was withered at the root. That means the tongues dried up at the very root. They were very, very thirsty, and for their thirst they couldn't speak. Okay, they couldn't speak too, and no more than if we had been choked with soot. And what was the condition? He compared this condition with that they had been choked with soot. That means they couldn't able to breathe for soot. Soot means, you know, black powder in the smoke of wood, coal, etc. Okay, we see soot, we call it soot, that is a smoke here. Then they couldn't even speak, as this condition was compared with the condition that they had been they might have been choked with soot. Okay, we see that the sailors were, and the ancient mariner and his shipmates were very, very thirsty. Okay, they couldn't speak now. And in this stanza we also find the use of anaphora. Okay, the last 2 lines of the stanza, look at the last 2 lines of the stanza. The starting word is we. Yes, we couldn't speak, no more than if we had been choked with soot. So the first 2 lines, the last 2 lines of the stanza started with we, so it's an use of anaphora. Okay, then go to the last stanza of part 2. Okay, ah, well a day, what evil looks had I from old and young. Instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hung. Okay, my dear students, what do you see here? Okay, here we see that the sailors were not able to speak. So what were they doing? Ah, well a day, what evil looks had I from old and young. That means the sailors looked at the mariner accusingly. Okay, they could not speak, but their looks revealed the contempt they felt for the mariner. And what did they do? Yes, instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hung. That means they removed, that means the shipmates of the mariner removed the cross from round his neck, and in place of the cross, what did they do? They hung the dead albatross there as a punishment for his evil deed. Okay. And here we also find that the changing attitude of the sailors. Firstly, what do we see? Firstly, we see that sailors are condemning the ancient mariner for his evil deed, for his killing the albatross. And secondly, we see that they approved it, that is, he had done the right thing, killing the albatross, which brought mist and snow. And finally, we see that here, that is, they are once again accused the ancient mariner, and they hang the dead albatross, okay, albatross around his neck for his for as a punishment, okay, as a punishment for his evil deed. And that's the end of part 2. And here, my dear students, we find internal rhyme. Instead of the cross, the albatross, okay. And here, my dear student, the symbol cross, the symbol of cross and the symbol of albatross is very, very important. You know, cross is a symbol of, is a religious symbol, okay. And albatross here, instead of the religious symbol, now he had to wear the albatross there, okay. My dear students, that's the end of our part 2. And now I will give you some homework both from part 1 and part 2. Look at the board, please. I will give you some short questions from part 1 and part 2. Look at the board, please. Questions from part 1 and part 2. Question number 1. How did the ancient mariner look? Okay, in this question, you will answer this question. You will describe the physical features of the ancient mariner. Okay, how did the ancient mariner look? Number 2. Why did the wedding guest beat his breast? Okay, then question number 3. Describe the land of ice. Okay, the land of ice. Question number 4. What crime did the ancient mariner commit? Okay, number 5. Describe the attitude of the shipmates against the crime. And here I will mention the changing attitude of the shipmates. Okay. Number 6. How did the natural forces react against the crime? When the ancient mariner killed the innocent bird albatross, how did the natural forces, that is the sea, the sea water, the wind, the sky, okay, all these natural forces, how did they react against the crime? You will mention it. And question number 7. How did the shipmates punish the ancient mariner? Okay, you will write down the answer of those questions. And in our next class, my dear students, in our next class, the and we will read part 3 of the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And in our next class, okay, in our next class we will read part 3 of the poem, and I will give you an idea about a topic. Okay, willing suspension of disbelief. Willing suspension of disbelief. Okay, my dear students, in our next class we will read part 3 of the poem, and I will also give you an idea about the topic willing suspension of disbelief. What is it, and what is the relation of this topic with the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner? Okay, to know it, you have to keep eyes on our next class. Okay, don't miss the class. See you again in our next class. Till then, goodbye. Allah Hafiz.